listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, a podcast where we explore what it's like getting older, the peaks, the valleys, and everything in between. In this season of Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, we're covering topics related to vibrant aging. I'm your host, Cheryl Proska. Let's grow old together. On today's episode, I'm joined by Adam Brunner, who is the director of Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, or OLLI, at Temple University. OLLI at Temple University offers a vibrant educational experience for individuals ages 50 years and older in Delaware Valley. The program features a diverse range of in-person, online, and hybrid courses, allowing members to shape their own learning journey while fostering meaningful social connections. The team at OLLI invites older adults to discover new interests, expand knowledge, and engage with a dynamic community where the possibilities for learning are endless. Prior to his role at OLLI, Adam worked for the National Council on Aging and the Intergenerational Center at Temple University. Adam also earned a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Organization Dynamics from Temple University. Adam, welcome and thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Cheryl. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So, Adam, you're joining me today to talk about OLLI, the lifelong learning opportunities it offers, and the impact your programs can have on older adults. To get us started, can you share with us about your background, the role you play at OLLI, and your connection to the program?
Sure. So, I have been in the aging field for my entire career, which has been roughly 36 years. Um, so, I started working at Temple University's main campus, and I worked for a place called the Center for Intergenerational Learning, where I developed and ran programs that brought together older adults and youth to meet mutual needs. So I did that for about 16 years. Then I had one program that was so successful that I got hired by the National Council on Aging in DC to run the national program for that. So I ran a national program at Washington, D.C. that served about 27 cities around the country with an intergenerational program that I had helped develop. And then after National Council on Aging, I started working at the OLLI program. And again, OLLI stands for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and it's based at Temple University. And we are actually on about 3 of Temple's campuses. So, and I've been in my current role for 16 years, and my title is director. So I'm responsible for the overall program.
So, what would you like our listeners to know about OLLI?
Okay. There's a lot to know, and I'm sure we'll cover it throughout this conversation. Above all, OLLI is a place to learn new ideas, new subjects. I've heard from many of our members that in the first part of their lives, they were focused on what they needed to learn to forge or develop their careers. They were very outcome oriented. They may have had passions or interests that they were even more excited about than their careers, but they couldn't explore them because they felt they didn't have the time or energy to investigate them. OLLI has become a wonderful place for such people where they can return to the roots, if you will, to their passions. Maybe they had an interest in art history, architecture, languages, and now they have time in their lives to study those subjects. I want to give a quick example. We have an instructor who fits this description very well. He was a legal prosecutor, a lawyer for his entire career, but always had an interest in art history. So when he retired, he applied to Oxford University in England, their art history school, and got his master's in art history. And as a retiree, is now teaching art history. He's also a docent at the Philadelphia Art Museum, and he teaches for OLLI. So it's a place where our students, our members, can learn about subjects that are. One other thing I want to mention, actually, that may meet passions of theirs, but it's also a place where they can learn about subjects that are kind of necessary to understand in today's world that may not have been a part of their youth, such as technology, computers, software, smartphones, women's history, which unfortunately was not understood well or talked about much in many of our childhoods, Black history, medical breakthroughs, current politics, which is changing all the time. OLLI is a place where you can explore a lot of these subjects and learn about them, stay current, and pursue your passions. So that's my brief answer.
So, in addition to all the types of learning opportunities that you just told us, are there any other types of courses that OLLI offers that you'd like to mention?
Sure. We offer courses in history, science, philosophy, religion, psychology, literature, art history. I mentioned that. Financial planning, believe it or not, funeral planning.
Good.
It's an interesting course. Hands-on art classes, writing classes, music classes, theater, yoga, game classes such as bridge, canasta, mahjong, comedy, sports. Really, it's really like a full liberal arts curriculum that could cover any number of subjects.
It sounds like there's something for everyone. And I'm connecting with it's a way to explore a passion maybe you used to have, and also explore a new interest. For example, like acting. Maybe you acted when you were younger and now you want to do maybe some improv, or even if you are not maybe the best artist, there's a craft class that you could find. So something to learn. And then also, it sounds like some of the classes you offer social connection.
Definitely.
So when I was going to school, there was one way to go to school. We had to, get on the bus and get there, and the same as college. Now, times have evolved and courses are offered in all different types of formats. What types of formats are these courses offered through at OLLI?
The primary are in person, online, and then hybrid. Now, everybody defines hybrid. Well, not everybody, but many people define hybrid differently. To us, a hybrid class is one that is meeting in person with a group of in-person students while simultaneously streaming to students who are at their home or another location joining through the Zoom app.
What would you say OLLI members can expect from your courses?
See here. One thing I want to mention here is that all of our instructors are volunteers. The last time we looked into this, we discovered that about 65% of our instructors were retired educators. But what that means is that roughly about 35% were people who excelled in their fields. And now that they're retired, they want to share what they learned through the work world and through life with others. So given that we have many instructors who are not necessarily lifelong educators, one of the cool things about it is that they don't have any preconceived notions about education and how it should be conducted. And so I've seen that many of our um, instructors with non-education backgrounds can be especially creative and approach it in a very different fashion that can be far more engaging, let's say, than the formal uh, classroom where the instructor is the so-called expert and they are pontificating to their students, etc. If we had another session, I would bore you with my thoughts about all the problems with our current educational system. I kind of like how you described it, how they'd throw, I would get onto a bus, I'd show up at school. I don't believe that the way our current educational system really works. I just don't think so many people get lost in the process. And so as a director of an educational system, I'm always thinking about how can we make the educational experience more engaging to the students and involve the students in the learning process. To me, that is the key to successful education.
So you mentioned OLLI's instructors, and we touched a little bit on what you might be able to expect. Could you share some more specifics about a few of the instructors that have stood out to you over the years?
Sure. I'm going to share with you maybe a few people. One of them I think stands out largely because of for many reasons. One, because of her age. She's in her 90s. It's Judge Phyllis Beck. She was a practicing lawyer. She was vice dean of the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and she was the first woman to be elected and serve on Pennsylvania's Superior Court. She was an appellate judge for 25 years. After she retired from the court, she was general counsel to the Barnes Foundation. She's presently chair of the Independence Foundation. She's an active servant of many nonprofit organizations, such as the Museum of American Jewish History, Mann Center for Performing Arts, Philadelphia Free Library, and more. She's also president of the Foundation for Cognitive Therapy. By the way, her husband, whose name is Aaron T. Beck, developed cognitive behavior therapy. She's one of our instructors. She's been teaching for us for many years. She teaches an amazing class called Hot Topics in Justice and the Law. And what's unique about it is they bring in a panel of presenters each class. And because Phyllis is so well known and connected throughout the Philadelphia area, she can call on anybody, and they're very unlikely to say, I'm not free. They really respond when she reaches out to them. Here's some other examples. Jay Pomerantz, he was a 1963 graduate from Yale Medical School. And he attributes his interest in teaching at OLLI back to the period in his life when he had 2 stints in the Peace Corps. The first stint started in 1964, where he cared for 250 volunteers in Panama for a year, and then as medical director overseeing medical volunteers in 15 countries in Latin America. He spent 3 months in Samoa in 1969, where he cared for 200 volunteers and volunteered as a psychiatric consultant in the Samoan Health Service. These experiences showed him the value of volunteer support, and it fits into who he is as a person. In the years between those volunteer opportunities, he completed a psychiatry residency at Massachusetts Mental Health Center and a fellowship in community health at Harvard. He then went on to 7 years as an administrator in the Massachusetts Department of Mental Health and a 43-year career in private practice while doing some teaching on the side and writing numerous articles. So he's another interesting guy. I'll give you two more. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but I want to give you a sense of the variety, and we have so many. I'll just give you four. Robert Michelson is a retired OBGYN with 30 years experience. He's a former trustee and past president of the medical staff of Abington Hospital, Dublin Township Human Relations Commission. For his upcoming course at OLLI, he has a 90-slide PowerPoint that he has used in two other venues, and he is looking to encourage discussion among participants and rely on real medical cases that he has been involved with in providing care for people to engage his students in a discussion about what is working and what's not working in our medical system so that they can understand it better. And as a professional, he will guide them through the process. I'll end with Toby Zinman. She is a former theater critic for the Philadelphia Inquirer. She currently writes for Findle.com about the arts in New York and Philadelphia. She's also written for the London Times, the New York Times, Variety, and American Theater Magazine, and was named by the American Theater Magazine as one of the 12 most influential critics in the United States. Her third career as a widely published travel writer, and I find this fascinating, has taken her all over the world with adventures like dog sledding in the Yukon, walking coast to coast across England, and rounding up cattle on horseback in the Australian outback. So she took these trips and wrote about them as a travel writer. Anyway, now she teaches for OLLI, and she teaches courses on music, on theater, and believe it, and she also loves literature. So this coming spring semester, she's teaching a course on War and Peace. You may have heard of that book. It has a little bit of a reputation.
I mean, I'm just in awe of the accomplishments of the instructors that are now, I'm learning, volunteering their time to teach these courses. And it also says a lot to me about OLLI that the instructors, they come back again and again and also develop new courses. And it just shows that what a mutually beneficial relationship it must be.
You are so right. And that's a very accurate description of what happens. I even want to add that we have some instructors who are so dedicated to learning in their retirement that they spend a year studying a subject that they had very little background in because they're fascinated by it, and they know that by teaching it is probably one of the best ways of learning a topic. It's one thing to sit there and listen. It's another to be actively engaged in the learning process. And it's even more challenging, but rewarding to have to teach a subject because, boy, I know as a teacher myself, there's no better way to learn about the holes in your understanding and knowledge than to actually teach a topic to people who are active, engaged learners, who aren't going to sit there with their hands on their under their legs and just nod their heads. Our students are very engaged and have lots of questions and sometimes know more about certain aspects of the subject than their teachers do, just because they're very well educated themselves. Anyway, they may have even studied that field previously, but for whatever reason, they're not interested in teaching it right now. They just want to participate as students.
So, building on the way that OLLI engages with the instructors and the students, what more might you like to add about how OLLI builds community among your participants?
There are a couple ways, actually a number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
We have active volunteer committees that OLLI members are welcome to participate in. They meet on a regular basis to perform actual work for the program. Some examples are we have our own in-house library where that has about maybe 800 to 900 New York Times bestsellers over the past several years. People can come in and take out books and return them when they're done. We have a library committee that works together to make the library happen for people. We also have a curriculum committee of volunteers whose job it is to identify potential volunteer instructors who could teach topics that aren't currently represented in our curriculum. They also interview prospective instructors to ensure that they are knowledgeable about their subject and have the skills to facilitate a classroom of very active, engaged older students. Other committees we have are fundraising committee. We're going to talk a little bit more, I don't know whether to mention it now, about shared interest groups. That's another way in which we people get the opportunity to socialize at a deeper level than what courses provide. But I do also want to say that in our building, we have a lunchroom that so in between morning classes and afternoon classes, students can go to the lunchroom, hang out, meet other students, eat lunch, and talk about maybe the class they took in the morning, or talk about what they're looking forward in the afternoon. Also, many people arrive to their classes early and linger afterwards to hang out and chat with each other. Let's see what else. A lot has changed, obviously, since the pandemic. It used to be that 100% of our classes were in person. Now it's a mixture because we still have noticed that some people are not comfortable coming to in-person classes. And we have noticed that some of our instructors love the luxury of teaching from home. And what we do is try to help our online instructors make their classes as interactive and engaging as possible so that they can become social places as well as educational places.
So you had started talking about the shared interest groups. So I do want to give the opportunity for you to expand on that.
Sure. So what are they? Basically, if Cheryl, you were an OLLI member and you, let's say there was either a subject that wasn't represented in our course schedule that you really wanted to learn more about. Maybe it was a subject that you know a lot about. You're not comfortable teaching a class on that subject, but you want to meet with others who either are knowledgeable about that subject, who maybe want to learn about it together. Mm-hmm. So you, Cheryl, as a non-OLLI teacher, can submit a one-page application to our shared interest group committee. It's another one of our committees run by volunteers. Mm-hmm. And there's also one staff person in each committee to ensure that, whatever committee is doing, whatever work they're doing, they're aware of temple policies and procedures, and we follow them along the way. But anyway, so Cheryl, as an OLLI student member, says, I'm really interested in nutrition. And I know a little bit about it myself, but I would love to meet with other people who have the same interest. And I want to get together with them on a regular basis so we can share what we know, maybe learn together, and enjoy each other's company in the process. So you submit a one-page application. You tell us that you want to do it. We just interview you. And if it sounds good, boom. You can start a shared interest group. We put it up on our website so that OLLI members can see that that Cheryl Proska is running a shared interest group in nutrition. We put your contact information there, or if you prefer, they contact us and then we send them to you. Mm-hmm. And then you pull together your shared interest group on nutrition and decide where you meet, when you meet, and you guys get to meet on a regular basis and learn and socialize together. Some examples of shared interest groups.
Yeah.
We have one called, actually don't have them handy, one that's French conversation and culture related. So they meet in French restaurants in Philadelphia and talk French together. We have one called, what's it called? Cocktails and Conversation, where they meet at bars on the main line where their SIG leader happens to live, and they talk about current events together. So just some examples of shared interest groups that we have.
Would you prefer to age independently in your own home or live in a nursing facility? I know what I'd rather do. Friends Life Care membership offers just that. Plan today for a future lived at home with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience while protecting your savings. Learn about your options at a free seminar or webinar. Register at friendslifecare.org/register or call 215-628-8964. So we've talked about the courses that OLLI offers, as well as the shared interest groups. And it's my understanding that you also work on special projects facilitated by grants. What should we know about that?
I'll give you a couple of examples. One is a program that's called, it's got a clumsy name, called Digital Skills Ready at 50 Plus. And it's funded by AARP and an organization called OATS, which stands for Older Adult Technology Services. So we got funded to develop a program that would teach older adult minority individuals in digital skills. So we decided, since Temple is located in in North Philadelphia, we decided that our program would reach out to older adult residents that live in the communities surrounding Temple's main campus and invite them to free computer classes. So we offer these free computer classes at Temple's main campus, and we bring people in and we teach them basic computer skills, everything from how to use a mouse to how to use the keyboard to how does the computer work and how to do online searches and what are browsers. And we teach them the computer technology, lingo, and how to use the computer. And there's so many dimensions, by the way, to that program, because we partner with other Temple programs throughout the university that offer other benefits to residents that surround Temple's community. One wonderful example is that Temple has a department called the Digital Equity Center. Mm-hmm. What they do is they take used computers from Temple staff that people no longer use. Maybe they're not functioning properly, or maybe they're done. The department's done with them. Mm-hmm. They refurbish them, make them very usable again, and they give them to community members for free. So after people attend our digital skills computer training, we connect them, anybody who doesn't have a home computer, with the Digital Equity Center to get a free computer. That's just one example of one of the kinds of things we do through grants to educate people over 50 in Philadelphia. Now, one other example I'll give is we also love to train our OLLI members who come to our Center City campus, which is our largest campus, in digital skills. So what we do is we got funding to hire Temple University undergraduates or graduates to provide what we call digital coaching to our OLLI members. So we, whenever the students are available, whatever their availability is, we put it on a form, we send it out to our OLLI members, and we say, OLLI Temple student workers are available to meet with you one-on-one to provide you digital coaching in our computer lab. So people come, they sign up. and they come into our computer lab. They meet with the Temple student one-on-one, and they could ask any question that they have. And our student workers help them figure it out. Could be something as simple as, how do you cut and paste? Or how do you download an attachment from an email? Or how do you send an attachment to an email? Or how do you create folders in your email system so that you can place emails you get from certain providers or service people into one folder so you can always find them, whatever it happens to be. So those are two examples of grant-funded projects that we do to enhance the learning of our participants and to further the education of older adults in the Philadelphia area.
And OLLI partners with Temple researchers. So I'd love to hear more about that too.
Yes. So we do our best to spread the word about our program to Temple professors, especially ones who are doing research in the field of aging. And what happens is we partner with them. We say, hey, if you're doing cutting edge research on older adults' cognitive health or socialization and how it impacts the aging process, whatever it is, our members might be willing to be subjects in your research studies because they're people who are committed to the educational process and they're committed to furthering what our society is learning to help make our lives better. So let's say, Cheryl, I'm using you as an example again, because I know you're a multi-talented person with so many interests. Let's say you teach a course at Temple and you're doing research, and you hear about our program. You would send us an email and say, hi, Adam, I'm doing research on this topic area. I would love to notify your OLLI students about it to see if we can recruit some as subjects. So you basically compose a little blurb and maybe a flyer, and we just send it out to all of our members, and you provide your contact information or the contact information of your computer lab, whatever it is. They reach out to you, and it turns out to be very successful. Our members enjoy signing up for those things and to forward the learning process of, and sometimes the research projects come with cash bonuses as well, which people always appreciate as well. Anyway, so we do that whenever possible. And we even can work with researchers outside of Temple. It gets a little trickier because there's a whole research approval component we have to do with outside providers. But anyway, that is one of the other things that we engage in throughout the program.
With all the opportunities that OLLI offers, you must have so many success stories about the positive impact your programs can have on older adults. Can you share a few that stand out to you?
Sure. I know of, I've been in my role for 16 years, and I know of many people who have met an OLLI member for the first time, who they have become really close lifelong friends, or not lifelong friends, obviously, but new friends with. And they feel like their social life has improved dramatically as a result of participating in this program. We also find a lot of our students meet old friends who they haven't seen in years and reconnect with them. We also, as I said earlier, we find a lot of people discover topic areas they never thought they'd have an interest in that now at this stage in their life appeal to them. I could give you a really there's so many success stories to share, but here's one that stands out in my mind. We held a open house at Temple's Ambler campus about 6 months ago. And we invited OLLI members to bring friends. And we also invited a lot of people in the community who may never have been associated with the OLLI program. So it was held at OLLI's Ambler campus. And as I was greeting people in the parking lot and directing them where to go, one of our members, who I knew very well over the years, arrived with a friend who she wanted to introduce to OLLI. And it just so happens that her son drove them both there and was dropping them off. So he once I saw his mom, who I know, I hugged her because we know each other really well, and she loves the program, as she shared to me many times. And then he came over to me and he said, "Are you Adam, the director?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I just want to share something with you. I am incredibly thankful for the OLLI program. It has provided a means for my mom to socialize, continue to learn, and be part of a community of like-minded people. That was especially invaluable during the pandemic. I also want to credit OLLI with being the thing that enabled my mom to begin healing following my father's passing. I don't mean to be dramatic," he said, "but I feel like OLLI has saved my mom's life. And in spite of the drama, I think there's a lot of truth to this." So that's literally a testimony that that a son of a OLLI member shared with me.
I mean, that's beautiful. And the so your children are going to be some of the people that know you the best, and having to watch this person watch his mom go through such a tough time, and OLLI, how facilitating, kind of like getting her to the other side of that. It's just remarkable for me to hear. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Cheryl.
So I do think it's important to mention that I understand that OLLI wants to make its programs as accessible as possible. How do you go about doing so?
Well, obviously the offering the different formats,
Mm,
also training our instructors and how to make their classes as interactive as possible, as engaging of students. Um, and I could give a long example, but I'm not going to do it at the moment. But if you want a longer example of how we do that, I could in a little bit. Um, I would say also the digital skills coaching is a
mhm,
big aspect of accessibility, because, as you know, in today's world, it's kind of hard to function without knowing how smartphones work, how computers work, having an email account, um, and being able to go online. I mean, something as simple as doctor visits and staying in touch with your doctor. These days, all doctors have portals, and you can communicate with your doctor via the online portal and save yourselves time traveling to and from the doctor by simply going into the portal, asking them questions, and getting them answered within 24 to 48 hours. So I think the training that we do and support we provide around digital skills really helps make our members and makes their lives um, more accessible. Let's see if there are other things. Just to add to that, a lot of the courses that we provide are focused on what's happening in the world today. I may be jumping ahead for you, but I'll just give you an example. Of this past fall, here's some examples of some technology related classes that we offered that keep people up to date. Hot issues in computing, AI and chat GBT, getting more from your iPhone and iPad, understanding the world of hardware and software, Middle East and the Muslim world, election 2024, the good, the bad, and the ugly, mostly the ugly, I would say, just joking, challenges of nations confronting political violence, Ukraine and Israel. These are just examples of how we stay current with what's happening in the world so that people feel more connected to the world around them, and also are able to connect to their family members who are steeped in technology. So I hope that answers that question.
It does. And I had another podcast guest on that talked about the importance of staying relevant and wanting to connect with family members who might be younger at a different stage of life, and just having conversation to just open the door with them. And it sounds like OLLI is helping facilitate some of those conversations.
Yes, definitely.
So you referenced jumping ahead. I did have, as you know, another question in this realm, and maybe you have more to add and maybe you don't. Either is okay. What more, if anything, might you like to say about how OLLI keeps up with the times as older adults' interests and technology evolves?
Let's see. I don't know that I really have much more to add
Mhm.
um, about that topic, because I think I sort of covered it in this last question.
Yeah.
But we're all, our curriculum committee is always looking at um, what what are the current things that we're learning about, and how can we bring it to our members. Okay, if you force me, Cheryl, I'll talk more. As I know, you can tell I have a really hard time talking. But I'm going to give you one or two examples. Neuroscience is a new field that we're learning about more and more every day. And I would say it's new really in the last 10 years. Not to say that it wasn't a field before 10 years ago, but in the last 10 years, the amount that we're learning is mushrooming. And that impacts older people in particular, in terms of what are we learning about how to maintain your cognitive health, what can we do to maintain cognitive health as we get older, etc. And also, we're also learning more about how to increase one's health span and lifespan. You may have heard, and your participants may have heard about the documentary series called The Blue Zones, where they just discovered that there's certain parts of the world where people consistently live to 100 or older. And they're starting to explore, well, what's happening in those areas, in those communities where those people are somehow able to have not only long lives by numbers, but long, healthy lives. Because in my opinion, I'd rather have a long, healthy life than a long, unhealthy life.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so we encourage our instructors, and we seek out instructors who can teach on these courses in these topic areas that are new and cutting edge. And I can give myself as an example. When we don't have courses where we can find an instructor to teach, sometimes I will offer a course, or one of my staff will. And so this past summer, I taught a course called Let's Live as Long and Healthy as Possible in Mind, Body, and Spirit. And as someone who's been in the aging field for 36 years, one of my avocations is to collect research on what we're learning about how to increase our health span and our lifespan. And as I indicated earlier, they're really two separate topics. They're completely interconnected, but there are different things you can do to increase your health span, different things you can do to increase your lifespan. So I took all of the research that I've collected over the years, pulled it together, and taught a course. And I could also answer one of your previous questions to give you an idea of how I ran the course, so that I made it as interactive and socially interesting as possible. So I decided, because I had never done it before, that I was going to make this class hybrid. But I wanted to do it in a way that was where I engaged the online students as much as I engaged the in-person students. So I was simultaneously teaching to a class of about 60 people who were in person. And then we were also streaming a group of about 80 people who were online. So what I did was I started each class by telling them what the topic would be. And then I started each class by saying, I want to start by hearing what you all have learned about this topic area that could be helpful for others to hear. And I always started with the online students because they're the harder ones to engage in a hybrid class. So I basically said, okay, online folks, feel free to either raise your hand or put something in chat and let me know whether you'd like to share something about what you've learned. Let's say the topic was sleep. How important is sleep to increasing one's health span and lifespan? What do you know about sleep? What have you heard? They share first, the online people, what they've learned. After we're finished with the online students, then I go to the in-person students. They share what they learned. They can all hear each other's responses and can ask follow-up questions with each other. And then after I've heard from them, then I share what my research has uncovered, talk about that. And then we end the class with questions and comments where I start with the online people first and then the in-person. The in-person people don't seem to mind it because there is something inherently more engaging and interactive in in-person classes. So the fact that they see me, I'm there with them, etc., they don't mind the fact that they have to wait to be second in line to participate. So that, I hope that answers a bunch of your questions all wrapped in one.
And I love examples. And I know that our listeners love examples. Just helps really crystallize what it would look like to be an OLLI member. And it stood out to me, like engaging 140 people, that's no small task. So the ability that you were able to do it throughout the course really says a lot about your commitment to the program and your students.
Thank you.
So I just a couple more questions before we close. And I'd say this may be the biggest question. And because of all the experience that you've had in your career, I'd love to get your perspective on why you say lifelong learning is important, especially as we age.
If we think of the brain as a muscle, we need to keep it active in order to maintain it. Active learning that challenges our minds to work in new ways is the central process in keeping cognitively fit over our lifespans. There is, however, a troubling gap between what people believe is good for their brain health and what research tells us is beneficial. As a nation, I believe we're faced with an opportunity and an obligation to make cognitive fitness as much a part of our everyday routines as physical fitness. But to do so, we must convincingly communicate the importance of engaging in new and stimulating activities that keep our brains in tip-top shape and improve our mental performance. We need to assure that appropriate resources are available to older adults in every community throughout the United States, throughout the world. Lifelong learning programs, in my opinion, offer a valuable venue for this cultural shift to maintaining and improving our cognitive mental fitness over our lifespans. I mentioned neuroscience earlier. Current neuroscience research suggests that participating in challenging activities for the brain lead to the formation of new brain cells and new connections among brain cells, a process called neurogenesis. The goal is to engage in new and more challenging activities or to do routine activities in different ways. For example, a person who enjoys crossword puzzles might decide to explore Sudoku, which I've been trying to do recently, and that is tough. Have you ever tried that, Cheryl?
I have not, but my dad is into it.
Okay, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really stretches my brain. There are also logic-based puzzles. Um, the goal is to, in quotes, break a mental sweat, if you will. Simply continuing to do the same thing that you've done over and over. Let's say it is crossword puzzles. Well, that can be fun and interesting. After a while, it can become routine and is not cognitively challenging. It doesn't require that breaking that mental sweat that we're looking for here. So the benefits for brain fitness come from engaging in new these challenging activities that create new neuronal pathways in the brain. So that's two wonderful examples are learning a new language or learning an instrument. You can't do those without breaking a mental or cognitive sweat. So that's why I think lifelong learning is so important, not only to older adults, but to people at any age. And I would say learning, period, is so essential to our cognitive health. However, I would say learning in a new way than, let's say, maybe our old fashioned educational system has encouraged. Like, again, get out of that old routine of sitting there with your feet, your hands under your arms, listening to an instructor, but finding learning um, opportunities that engage you in the learning process.
After hearing all of the wonderful things that OLLI has to offer, I know that our listeners are going to want to learn more. So, where can they go to do just that?
They can visit our website. So I'll say the website address briefly or slowly. It's non-credit, and there's no hyphen in there. So it's all one word, NONCREDTI, no, EDIT, sorry, non-credit dot temple for Temple University dot edu for education / OLLI, no E, because this is not about an old kids TV show, Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. So I'll repeat it, non-credit temple.edu / OLLI. So that's the easiest place to learn about our program. If somebody would rather talk to an individual rather than read about it online, they could call our general number, which is 215-204-1505. 215-204-1505. Now, back to our catalog. On our catalog, we list our latest. We post our latest catalog, so they can go on the website, look through the latest catalog to get a sense of the kinds of courses we offer, the kinds of other opportunities we offer, so they can get a good feel for it.
And I will put both the website and the phone number in the today's show notes so that everybody can easily access them.
Great.
So, before I let you go, do you have any parting words for our listeners about OLLI and lifelong learning?
Yes. As a 65-year-old person myself, I know, I am absolutely certain that the old adage, you can't teach old dogs new tricks, is one of the greatest falsehoods, because personally, I am learning new things every day. A lifelong learning program like OLLI, in my opinion, is a fierce response to that ageist attitude and adage. On the other hand, I believe at any age, we are all at risk of staying within our comfort zone. Change and growth are challenging. I believe that learning needs to happen on all cylinders, not just the brain, but emotionally, mentally, physically. there are ways of stretching ourselves in each of these areas so that we are not resting on our laurels, not sitting in our safe refuges, but stretching ourselves to grow. We've all met people of any age, young or old, who have lived life, but not necessarily learned from their experience, or who I just stated earlier, who spend way too much time seeking refuge in their comfort zones. So I encourage everyone listening to challenge themselves, to tolerate discomfort in order to grow, to unlearn bad habits and become the best human being they're capable of. I would love to welcome anyone interested in this journey or who just wants to learn new things to join the OLLI program and discover the wonderful things we have to offer.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining me today, sharing everything that, so much of what you've learned in your career, and also sharing OLLI and the lifelong learning opportunities your programs provide for older adults. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So I just want to end by saying I really appreciate your interest in our program, you reaching out to me, and you inviting me for this opportunity. It was very kind of you, and I really appreciate you. And I appreciate your program as well. And I am very excited that your participants will hear about this.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, a unique program focused on aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience. You can find links and show notes from this episode on our website at friendslifecare.org/podcast. Thank you to Adam Brunner for joining us today. You can learn more about Adam and OLLI at noncredit.temple.edu/OLLI, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And thank you to Nick Dieterding for editing all the Honestly Aging episodes. If you like our show, please rate, review, subscribe, and join us next time. To learn more about aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience, subscribe to our blog at friendslifecare.org/blog.